universe. Part 2. Please go and watch part 1 if you are not. If you are unaware, this is a series on my channel where I am looking into astrology, being a total noob, and trying to figure out how this can improve and help my life. I do not know astrology all that well, clearly. Learn along with me. If you're looking for an expert, this is not the person. There are many other lovely people on YouTube. If you are an expert and you're curious as to what this nonsense I'm about to speak, please comment down below and correct me in any way you see where I'm making an error. But anyway, disclaimer's done. Next part, the elements with the signs, because this helped a freaking lot. So last time I talked about sun and moon sign and talking about those two and balancing them with their different traits and how that has helped me to push forward and become a better person and actually see what actually works way better for me in improving my life. The next thing that really freaking helped was I pulled my chart and I looked at it and I was just like, what is all this with the signs and the sections and the lines and the what? And it gave me an immediate headache and I put it away. And I tried to do a bunch of videos and read about it and I just, oh my god, no. Then, in my Astrology 101 class, one of my teachers had us sit down and look at how you divide up all of your planet by their element that they are associated with, which was very interesting and very helpful. So go to either, I'll put the link in down below, go to astro.com. We used astrolabe.com in my class. I'm not sure about the differences. I did know some slight differences in my chart and comparing them, but they weren't too different. It's pretty much locked on. There was like, I think 1 or 2 things, like I think Chiron was in a slightly different place slightly. But then the first thing we did is found where each of the planets are in our chart and what sign they correlate with, and then what element did that sign belong to. And then you categorize it all out to see how much water was in your chart, how much earth was in your chart, how much air was in your chart, how much fire was in your chart. And oh my goodness, that explained a lot to me, because if you already know the elements and what's associated with it, you know, fire with the passion and the drive and the whew, and then the air with the chaotic and the logic and the fast-moving information and all of that. The earth with the grounding, the stability, the stubborn, and then the water with the receptive, the emotional, the flex. Knowing these traits, and then looking at your chart, and not even having to know what any of the planets mean. I don't even know any of this, but just seeing how much earth, water, fire, air is in you as a person from the stars. And this energy works so well for me. One, I've already said before, my sun is a Gemini, my moon is in Capricorn. That is some air and some earth. Whew. Which makes a lot of sense. So my chaotic air is very, very balanced out with that solid earth moon, and I have to make them negotiate and talk a little bit better for me to move forward. But beyond that, when you look at my chart, actually, I have a shit ton of earth, and I have like 3 planets in air, and then I have what, like I think 2 in water and no fire at all. Very, very interesting. And I think this really made a lot of sense when I saw how much of my chart is involving that earth energy and how important it is for that structure now, for that steady going forth structure without too much chaos. And it's almost like I am mostly earth when I look at my chart, and then there's a hell lot of air whipping through it to kind of like get move, and a little bit of that water flowing in as well, but no fire. Knowing that about myself now, that is funny how the one thing that disappears quickest is that fiery drive, that fiery passion. That is something that seems to appear randomly, and it's very like whew, and then it goes out so fast, and it's like barely detectable at times in my life. And I think that has a lot to do with the lack of fire in my chart, and how I almost have been attempting to structure my life around when that little boof of energy, of excitement, of passion enters in. Like I'm always waiting for that to move anything forward, to make anything go. And if there's none of it in my chart, then clearly that is not a long-term good idea. Instead, I am now looking at the, okay, well fuck, if there's like 6 damn planets solidly in the Earth section, I need to take a moment and go, okay, you thought you were little Miss Chaos Queen, but apparently you're not. Apparently you need a lot more of that structure that Capricorn moon brought in than you thought. While still allowing that overall umbrella of my sun sign being an air sign, of allowing that communication and that chaos to come in and blow through it a lot. I think this also has a huge amount to do with why I don't vibe well with the desert. I have been said in multiple videos before that I currently live in Phoenix, Arizona, and I have lived in Illinois, I've lived in California, I lived in Tokyo for a short little spurt of time. I spent at least a month and a half in Italy. And it's very interesting how I didn't realize how much energy and how much good vibes and I would get from certain climates specifically and different land masses. And I think a lot of that has to do with the amount of fire energy that just is inherent within the desert, because the damn sun is so freaking hot and it just burns. Like, you can feel the fire energy surrounding this area. And I feel dried out. I feel lacking in moisture. And it's not just the moisture, I feel lacking in earth. Like, even though there's earth here, there's no plant growth. Like, it's very odd. And my happiest time in the desert is right now, which is monsoon season, when the air and the water come in and the earth comes alive again. And that's very, very interesting. I have basically, as a person with 0 fire in her chart, has come to a place that is fire embodiment within the landscape. And no wonder I'm not vibing well with it. No wonder I am craving rain and wind and really strong earth in that sense, right? As long as tailoring my life to a lot of structure and foundation, with allowing my chaos intellect element to feature in, and then the water emotional element to feed it all and give it that breath and that fluxiness, then I should also maybe do that for the place I want to live, as well as with how I'm structuring my life and how I'm looking to improve it. And also recognizing that how else can I then get some fire into my life? Because no passion, no drive, none of that, not helpful at all. I need that, and I do thrive well when that burst comes in for a second, but relying on it isn't going to be helpful in the long term. I need to look to what I actually have and see how I can maybe add a little fire in to balance myself out a little bit. See how else I can have that added on a more consistent basis, as opposed to waiting for the universe to just grant me with a little bit of every once in a while. So this is what I recommend you do, especially if the chart that you pull for yourself at any of these free astro sites makes you go crazy. Just sit there and go, okay, normally I think they have a little chart down below that says that, like, your Mars is in, you know, Gemini, and your Venus is in this. Take all of those signs and figure out how much earth, water, fire, and air is all in your chart, and then deal with those energies first, because I was fascinated to find that there is no fire. I used to envision myself as a very fiery person, as a person who had a lot of that ambition and that goal. But now looking at myself, I still see that power, I still see that flux and that influence, but I would relate it a lot less to a wildfire that is building, that inner that just comes up. And I would instead relate it to a monsoon, to a hurricane, to that summer storm that comes in with all of that air and water to that earth into amazing, lush gloriousness. That is more aligning with what I am, really, if I really look at it, than any sort of fiery energy instead. Like, it's a different, it's still whoosh, but it's not the same type of whoosh, if that makes sense. Anyway, I make new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and hopefully I'll have another What the F Universe video for you soon as I tackle more of this stuff. See you guys next time.